Hi there, welcome along to another workout for you to row along to. It's the 500 meter plan week 2 session 1 and it's a nice bottom tier workout today. What we're going to do is 7 5-minute intervals at 22 strokes per minute and there's going to be 1 minute rest in between. Pace wise, well, if you're doing this at a traditional 2k pace, then you're probably looking to do it at 2k plus 16. However, if that takes it away from a bottom tier, then I want you to back off to around about 2k plus 17 or 18. It's easy to go a little bit too hard here and kind of not quite be a mid tier, not quite be a bottom tier. So make sure that this is going to be just a nice, comfortable row for you. Now that's better expressed in heart rate terms. Now I'm going to do mine at the Maffetone heart rate. So the calculation for that is 180 minus my age, which gives me 135 beats per minute. Now the alternative to that is that you row with your heart rate between 65 and 75% of your max heart rate. Now for me that's 135 anyway, so it's kind of one or the other for me. However, I do agree that a lot of people are a little about the 180 minus your age calculation for Maffetone, so you might want to look at that 65 to 75%. Alright, so let's get into our 4-minute warm-up. Start off by setting up the drag factor on your machine. If you don't know about drag factor, please check out the video on my YouTube channel. Next up, go for your monitor, set it for eye height, so you don't have to look up, you don't have to look down. And then the foot straps, make it so that they cover either the bottom lace on your shoe, or if you're in socks like me, they let you hinge comfortably forwards at the front. Swoosh. Okay, so 4-minute warm-up starting at 18 strokes per minute in 3, 2, 1. Go. Right, so just ease in. This is a warm-up, not a start at a million miles an hour. Okay, so don't worry about your pace. Just concentrate on your stroke rate because that will help you as you start to just think about where the power is coming from and certain angles of your body. So ideally, straight arms at the front as you start the drive, shins at vertical as you get to the front, back leaning forwards at the front and then swinging into around about 11 o'clock position at the back. So just think about those body angles. I will, of course, talk about them in more detail during the row. You can start maybe laying in a little bit more power now. Should be a little bit warmer, heart rate up a little bit more. So if you were starting this off around about 2k plus 30-ish, maybe you could look to be at 2k plus 25 and increase a little bit harder over the next 20 seconds. So you're at the 2k plus 20 pace that we normally talk about at 18 strokes a minute. But don't worry too much about pace. It's a slow row today anyway. All right, 2 more strokes and then we'll take one of our feet out of the foot straps. Pick a foot, take it out, put it on the floor, and continue to row. Just rock back and forwards from the ball of your foot that's on the floor to your heel. Continue rowing with the same kind of stroke technique that you normally use. But let this help you with any flexibility and compression issues that you might be having as you warm up. Let's swap feet. Continue. Do make sure and still drive off nice and solidly with the leg that's still strapped in. I don't want you to just kind of tickle the machine. Remember, this is also part of a warm-up, so you have to keep working relatively hard. Just keep your heart rate up and things. 1 more stroke, then both feet in, straighten your legs, put a slight bend in your knees, and then just continue to row with your back swing and your arms pulling in. So you're not using your legs at all, legs are straight. Maybe just that slight bend just to make sure your knees aren't locked, but you shouldn't really be getting any power from your legs. It's all from that swing back and forwards over your hips and then pulling in your arms. One more. And then roll to the front, keep your arms straight and just push out with your legs. Maybe just half a length of the drive, enough to just pick up the flywheel and think about the timing as you hit that catch, making sure you've got your forward lean as you do so. All right, 2 more strokes and one last stroke. There we go. Right, so continue moving up and down the rail, have a quick drink, and I'll explain once again what it is we're doing today. Okay then, so today's session is going to be 7 5-minute intervals with 1 minute rest in between. Now, if you're going to set your monitor to do this properly along with me, then make sure to set your rests to undefined rather than 1 minute. That way we'll just make sure and stay in sync, and yeah, just do it that way, trust me. Now, you're going to do this at 22 strokes per minute. We don't often do 22s, but we've been doing a lot of 18s and 20s, and I thought I'd make it exciting by chucking in a 22. And your pace is going to be, well, 2k plus 16 is kind of what you usually aim for at 22 strokes per minute, but if that takes it away from the bottom tier workout and slightly more towards the mid, then I want you to back off, even if you go down to 2k plus 18. Heart rate wise, well, for the Maffetone, then you just do 180 minus your age, and that will give you your heart rate zone that you should be working at. You don't really want to go that much above or below it. Say 5 beats either side is just a kind of a little up and down, but try and hold that result. Or you can do 65 to 75% of your maximum heart rate. Now, this 1 minute in between for the rests, you don't have to take that 1 minute rest. You can just continue rowing if you wish and just make it a whole 42-minute session. The whole point for this 1 minute rest in between is because we're going slightly faster at 22 strokes per minute, I don't want you to push and stress your heart rate past where you want to have it. Okay, so this is very much about keeping it all bottom tier, low level, easy, so that we can be nice and energized for the top tier stuff, which is going to follow. Okay, but you can fill your boots and just row straight through. Don't worry, no one's there. No one's going to look at you and say, "What are you doing? You're not following the idiot Scotsman's advice." Anyway, I can be telling you all this stuff during the row rather than here, so we might as well get going. So 22 strokes a minute, either 2k plus 16 or a pace that gets your heart rate to where it should be. Okay, in 3, 2, 1, go. Now just follow me for stroke rate, either on the YouTube video by rowing along when you see me take a stroke, or if you're listening to the podcast, just that whoosh of the flywheel, just follow along with that. But you should, hopefully whatever rowing machine you're using should have a stroke rate readout on it anyway, and that way you can keep yourself right in case I drift. I'll try not to drift today. Hopefully I can manage to talk and see 22 the whole time. It's only when I'm doing stroke rate ladders that I can have that hiccup. Now, 2k plus 16, I know will blow my heart rate past the 135 beats per minute that I want it to be at. So I'm actually going slightly slower than I would if I was even doing 20 strokes per minute. So I'm at 2k plus 19 right now, just because the slightly faster stroke rate means more activity from your muscles, or from my muscles. So I know that if I go too hard, I'll end up with my heart rate going through the roof. So I want to ease myself. That's 2 minutes in. So if I'm easing myself through this, really, in about a minute's time, I want to be getting closer to my target heart rate. But like I've said a few times, I'd rather be under than over. So if I'm 5 beats or so under, that's fine by me. Because it's all about not pushing your body and having an overactive heart, and your body being too activated too much of the time and then not ready for the top tier stuff. Right, so I've sped up a little bit. I've gone up to the 2K plus 16 now. Just, well, taking the stroke rate up as well. Don't do that. There we go. All right, it was just a momentary blip. Let's want my heart rate up a little bit from where it is, so just going to sit at 2K plus 16 until the end of this interval, just to make sure I'm not cheating myself out of a workout. Because when I say I'd rather be under than over, what I mean is I'd rather be at 130 than 140 when I'm aiming for 135. But rowing along at 115 might not be giving me quite the workout that I need to. Probably still be better at 115 than it would be at 150. But here we go. So the beauty of making this 7 times 5 minutes is that we're almost at the end of the first interval. So it really breaks this workout down into little bite-sized morsels. Right, 2 more strokes. 1 more stroke. There we go. So I'm a few beats per minute off where I want to be, but again, got a total of 35 minutes worth of rowing. If I stop during this minute rest, you might be continuing to row. We've got 35 minutes worth of rowing, and what I'll probably find is, from a drift point of view, my heart rate will steadily climb and feel it harder. So how did I finish? That was 64% of my max, so just tiny under the range, that kind of bracket range I'd want to give myself. So I probably, to be honest, probably held off a bit too far at the beginning. Sorry about that, especially as when I said to you, hey, this is a good thing to do. Apparently it wasn't. Right, if you've chosen undefined rests, press your button to start into the next interval, because we're going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So same again. I'll hold the 2K plus 16 this time, which is 201. And then just see how quickly or well, I got to figure I'm going to hit my 135 at this pace. But like I keep on saying, it's really important that you keep these at their bottom tier level, and then you can use them to work on your technique at the same time. So you're developing your aerobic foundation with a row like this, but you're also able to take time to just analyze parts of your stroke. So take for instance posture. you could spend this whole 5-minute interval just thinking about your posture. So you want at the front of the machine to be leaning forwards, but importantly on your sit bones to lean forwards. You're not rounding your back. You're primed, poised, powerful, all the P words, ready to push off. But the important part is that your posture is powerful. Lots of P's, they're everywhere. Now, you may have seen the rowing technique hacks video that I uploaded a few weeks back. If you haven't, check it out. Well, I'm going to do another one, and it's going to incorporate Heisenberg from Breaking Bad. Stay with me. You can see there's a red strap around the top of the monitor. Well, tucked in behind that red strap is a little Lego figure that I made that looks like Heisenberg from Breaking Bad. I'm sure I've got an image that I'll put up. I'll put it up in the rest period. Anyway, it's just his head peeking over the top of the monitor, and what I do is just keep eye contact with Heisenberg or whatever Lego character you might use. And because you're focusing and keeping eye contact, it's really strange. It kind of promotes and keeps the posture you need because you're staring at this Lego figure. And it's not the same as picking a point on the wall in the distance. Whether that's because the point on the wall kind of moves because of how far away it is, or whether it's just because he's just peeking over the top. But that point at the front here, when I look into his soul, it means I'm less likely to slump at the front and lose eye contact with him. So there's a tip. It's a preview of the next technique hacks video, just for you. Should be up in about a week's time, maybe less. 2 strokes, 1 more stroke. There we go. So that was all right. Heart rate was absolutely bang on the money there. So I'll continue that pace on the next interval and see if the same thing happens. So here we go. Here's the picture of Heisenberg peeking over the top of the monitor. Look at him, isn't he cute? Don't be alarmed that the monitor's off. I'll film this afterwards when the monitor's off. Don't think, hang on, he's rowing to a dead screen. He's cheating us all. I would never do such a thing. Right, 15 seconds to go. If you're on undefined rests, press your button to get ready for the next interval, which will be exactly the same thing in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So exactly the same stroke rate, same pace, same heart rate, zone. We're just trying to hold Everything nice and calm. I mean, so it's this 35 minutes worth of rowing. I have to figure, will I break 8,000 meters? Yeah, I should do. Don't know what hang on, I'll turn off from force curve. Yeah, so my projected finish is 1,230 meters currently. So 7 of them will be, about 8,500 meters. So regardless of whether this feels individually tough right now, as we're only in the third interval, if you consider that you might be doing around about 8,000 meters, plus or minus 1.5 maybe, who knows how fast you are, then hopefully you'll agree that from a long distance fat burning potential and aerobic building potential, this is exactly the workout that it's meant to be. It's just not the most exciting in the world. But again, that's why I've broken it into 5-minute chunks, just to try and make it a little less dull. But you've got to hope that all my witterings just works as a nice distraction in your ear, that you don't really realise that you've rowed 35 minutes by the time you get to the end of it. So, we only spoke really about posture at the front in the last interval. So, Heisenberg helps a little bit here. You don't want to dip so much at the back that you'll lose sight of him, but you'd have to go pretty far into a layback to not see a Lego figure poking over the top. But the key at the back is to continue that powerful posture and braced core as you pull the handle in, so that you don't round your back for this. You don't want that weird kind of, I don't know how you'd explain it, but that weird stroke where your knees bend and then the handle goes over it when your knees are already bent and your hips are tucked under. You want a nice, powerful finish, ready for the handle to go away, and as your hips rock forwards, you're instantly in that powerful posture again. You don't want to have to constantly think about kind of finding a new posture and being vertical and all that stuff. You just want it to be natural. I can have a natural transition from one phase of the stroke to the next. It's all about continuous movement. There's never really a point where I'm stopped. It's maybe a tiny hiccup at the front as I go from forwards to backwards, but I'm still, even at the front, winding up to start the next stroke. Okay, so in 3, 2, last stroke, 1. 136 heart rate finish, so keeping on track. Yeah, so as you get to the front, there's a point as you're winding up your spring to then get you back. And that transition from going forwards to backwards, you could say there's a pause there, but what you don't want to do is at the back to drive, pull in, hold, and then push and move. You're not meant to go and forwards and drive, hold, and then forwards. That's not it. It's like drive, in, out, forwards. It's like Tai Chi. Okay, press your button if you're on undefined rest. Oh, excuse me. We're going in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. Interval 4. Exactly the same thing again. I hope if you do continue rowing through these rest periods, if that was your choice, I hope as we start the next interval, you're able to fall back in line with my stroke, because there's a good chance, especially as we get, sometimes takes me 3 or 4 strokes to get up to 22, can start off about 19, 20. There's a chance that we'd fall out of sync a bit. That's okay, we're all grown-ups here. So it's working how it should. Heart rate climbs up to the correct region relatively quickly. I hold it there, then the minute rest stops it from going too high, gives me a chance to have a drink, to reset, ready to start again with a non-fatigued, that's the right word, isn't it? Non-fatigued stroke technique. And because it's not that fast a pace, you shouldn't really feel your legs tiring out. So you should be able to concentrate on a good solid push from the front in order to generate the power. Pushing with the legs in that forward lean is what gets the power into the handle, and then that back rock from your 1 o'clock lean to 11 adds a little bit more juice. And then finally, as your arms come in, that's the last bit of power. But you want to make sure to push out with your legs from the front, and then be sure to get the whole drive from your legs. You don't want to pull in the handle too early and then kind of yank your feet against the foot straps to fire yourself back up the rail again, wasting all that extra power from your legs. So your leg drive should be finished before your handle comes in. Because again, if you yank yourself up the rail, it promotes that rounding of the back, poor posture, poor starting position for the next stroke. And the reason I bang on about technique is partly injury prevention. So by using this kind of flow from one phase to the next on the rowing stroke, you're not really jerking from bit to bit. You're just transferring energy through you. So you're less likely to get a sudden tear or something from it being a jerky one. But also, it's about energy efficiency, about being able to put in all the power that you can into the stroke and not leaking any of it, but also being able to do the same thing repeatedly. So this is what, 110 strokes per interval times 7. So that's 840 strokes that you're going to be taking today in this session, if you do that at this stroke rate. And you want to make sure you're as efficient and powerful and safe in every single one of those. All right, coming into a close on this one. One more stroke. Here we go. All finished. Could feel my watch buzzing away at me again. Are you rowing? Yes, I'm rowing. Travis Warwick has just commented. Don't know what one it was, but the hashtag was podcast. 4:30 in the morning, 35 degrees Fahrenheit in the garage. Oh, poor Travis. Shout out to 35 degrees Fahrenheit. That's probably around about what, I'll have to look at Celsius. I work in Celsius rather than Fahrenheit, so I'll do that later and I'll reply to him and say, ooh. Press your button to continue to the next interval, because we're going in 10, 9, 8, that was quick, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. 5th interval. I really do enjoy it when people comment on the rows. I mean, apart from the odd one or two, I do try and reply to every single one of them. You should see that when you look at the comment section of the videos, is that every time someone comments, you should get something from me. Of course, I can do that when I'm just getting this number of views. If I was up at the 200,000 views of some of the alpha male coaches on YouTube, then I doubt I'd get the chance to reply to everybody. I had to try and work out, how do they get so many views? A bit of professional jealousy here. It's not about the numbers though. It's about the people that are taking part, and there really is a core, regular series of names that I always see popping up, and it means so much to me, not only that random people find this channel and row along with me, but also that the same people come back and they don't kind of eventually drift away and I don't know, what do you do on YouTube? Just click away? Yeah, kind of feel a sense of responsibility to hang around for everyone. But like I say, I've spent the past, year selfishly using these videos as a means to give me the structure and the, the discipline, there we go. I was thinking determination, that was wrong. Oh, I blow my heart rate talking discipline. But the discipline to not push harder than I should and therefore re-injure my shoulder. Right, I'm backing right down here. I'm at 140. There we go, down a bit. So yeah, series of videos for the past year have all been about giving me an outlet to give me the structure for rehab, while also sharing my brand of
knowledge and dinner plans to help you guys. And seriously, if you want any proof of how well this works, look at the difference between the videos, I think maybe July, so that would have been maybe like week 1, session 5 of the 2K plan, or session 6. I'm in an orange t-shirt anyway, like a convict haircut. And you look at just how much weight I'd put on, just like lockdown weight. And then you can watch it just disappear over the course of the next kind of 4 months, the next kind of, I don't know, 30 or 40 rows. And seriously, apart from giving up alcohol and only drinking every 4 weeks, and then cutting out carbs for my lunchtime meal, and this 16-8 fast. Well, actually, I've just said apart from, but that should sound like quite a lot. But that's all I've done. That and the rowing. And a little bit of weights, but I'm not doing any other cardio stuff. I'm not running around anywhere. I'll maybe go on a... Oh, hang on. 2 more strokes to go. 1 more stroke to go. Ugh. Yeah. I mean, I'll maybe once a week, I'll jump on the turbo trainer and log into Zwift and do a 20-minute, half an hour race just to keep the cycling legs going, but it's certainly not going to make any difference when it comes to the amount of weight I've shifted. So I've lost, what, 7 kilograms? And admittedly, listen, there's quicker ways to lose weight, but the thing about losing weight fast is it tends to come back on fast. Mostly because you've done like a crash diet or something, and then at the end of it you go, oh, I'm so hungry, and just eat and put it all back on. Whereas this is now my lifestyle. So press your button to continue to the next interval. So if you can make your diet and health routine just become your lifestyle, it'll be easy and it'll stay off. Right, we're going in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Right, so that was an entire interval just talking about health benefits and just talking about how helpful these videos have been to me. I actually managed to not talk to you about technique for an entire 5 minutes. Can you believe that? When have I ever gone a whole 5 minutes not talking to you about technique? I'll have to double my efforts on this one. No, don't worry, I'm not gonna. The only thing that's occurred to me that I haven't really covered that I want to is just your arms. Make sure as you come to the front of the machine, your arms are straight, maybe with a little external rotation of your elbows, just to help lock in your lats as you drive. But straight arms, and keep them straight until your leg drive is pretty much done and your back has done its backswing. And only then do you bend your elbows to finish off the stroke. Keeping your arms nice and straight helps the power effortlessly flow up through your body and into the handle. And the key word there is effortlessly. What you want to do is be as efficient as you can as you lay the power in. So with straight arms, not fighting the stroke. So if you bend your elbows at the front too early, you're then using your biceps and your pecs to fight against the power from your legs. basically soaking up that power, which isn't very handy. You want it all to go into your flywheel. But also, if you bend your arms too early at the front, by the time it does come to pulling in to your chest, you've only got like half the arm pull that you should have. You should have a full range from straight to in. But if you bend too early, you've only got half that distance. Sorry, slow down stroke right there while demonstrating it. Back up we go. And if you want a way to practice driving out at the front with straight arms, again, my rowing techniques, the hacks, video number 1 that's already online describes using a balloon. So you get a balloon and hold it in your elbow pits, like one on that side, one on the other side, in between your arms. Squeeze the balloon together slightly in order to hold it in place. And then you just drive out with straight arms from the front, like the drill that we do at the warm-up. So you don't finish the stroke, you just drive out. And what happens is if you bend your elbows too soon, the balloon falls to the ground. But if you can manage to keep it between your arms as you're just doing the leg drive, then that shows that you're keeping your arms straight as you're driving back with your legs. Handy tip. All right, 30 seconds to go of this penultimate interval. Hopefully you're just purring along by now. Heart rate where it should be, pace where it should be. Maybe you've got a good sweat going on. 2 more strokes. 1 more. Should be breathing slightly hard. I'm certainly nice and showing it. So there, yeah. So it's really how it should be. Is it just real low level? And this is building your engine, building your fitness, building that bowl of all the energy that you have. So when it comes to the 500 meter row, you've got a big bowl containing all your energy that you're able to use to feed that top end power as you do your 500 meters. So the more of these rows you do, the bigger that bowl gets to feed that top end power. Right, press the button to continue to the next interval. We're going in 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So I talk about the fireball that you create as you push out with the legs. Okay, so as you drive back, you're building this big blue fireball of power. You build it up and then you let it go as you pull in the handle. And so what you're doing in a 500 meter event is you're just creating a lot of massive blue fireballs, one after the other, going whoosh, whoosh, firing them off at the competition, leaving them in a blaze of glory. Okay, I can't keep that analogy going anymore. But what I'm saying is then that if you think all of those fireballs need some kind of fuel, say it's like your paraffin fuel. And you need to be able to hold on to all that fuel, ready to power all of those big blue fireballs. And the bigger the container you have, the more fuel you can hold. So that's what I'm saying. These bottom tier rows, they give you a bigger and bigger bowl to hold your fireball energy. And then as you hit your 500 meters, you're taking little bits of that fuel on every stroke. You're trying to go as fast as you can, and you're building as big a fireball as you can. And as you get further into the row, the bowl is getting shallower and shallower as you start to demand more and more energy from it to keep on going. And so fatigue sets in at the point when it's getting harder to find that energy to continue at the pace you want to. You're not able to create your fireball quite as easy as you were at the beginning. So you use rows like this to give yourself a bigger, more accessible bowl of your fuel, so that as your body is hunting for the fuel to fire that, to create that fireball, it's all there for it. Okay, I think I've probably got my point across about how important this is. And the problem is, just quickly, if you push a session like this, you're not actually making your bowl any bigger. All you're doing is you're using up the fuel that's already in the bowl that you're going to want to have for session 2. So not only is the bowl not getting any bigger because you're pushing this too hard, you're robbing yourself of the energy that you need in order to be able to train at the pace you want to, in order to increase your ability at the 500 meters. So get your bowl big and deep from rows like this, and then it'll be brimming to the top, overflowing with energy, ready for session 2 or session 4, or when it comes, your actual 500 meters. Because if you can just hold your pace all the way through and not slow down like others do, then you've got more of a chance of winning. That's why Usain Bolt's so fast. It's not that he's 10 times faster than everyone else, he just doesn't slow down as much. Right, 2 more strokes, 1 more stroke. All done. There you go. So I kind of got a little bit lost in my own analogy there, but it should make sense. That's why I was going on about it. That these rows make your bowl bigger and bigger and deeper, so that as you're banging away on that 500 meters, it's just able to, can dip in anywhere and find it. But get it wrong and it's not as big and it's kind of a strange shape and it's harder to grab the fuel it needs to make these fireballs. I'll shut up now about my fireballs. Anyway, let's do a 2-minute cool down. Okay, in 3, 2, 1, go. Probably don't need the cool down. I'm gonna just paddle this one just to kind of just help ease me to a stop. I mean, my heart rate was already down at like 80 by the time I started this, so it's not like I particularly need it, but it's always good to get into the habit of doing a cool down, because there's rows you do where you really do need to, and if you're not in the habit of just winding your body down, that's when the soreness sets in the next day. And I don't know. Plus, this gives me a chance to do my little sign off and stuff. Talk to you for another minute and a half or so. So, session 1, week 2 of the 500 meter plan. And I think the hashtag should be, what should we call it? Bowl of power, or power bowl. Something to do with power and bowls and fuel and fire and whatever. But yeah, bowl of power. That's what you're making with these. And then you're going to use that power in session 2, which is the top tier one, which is always a fun one to do. I mean, they're tough, but they're a lot more fun than a row like this. That's the thing. It's like, this is like broccoli, exceptionally good for you, but not the most fun in the world. So, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you didn't get too, what's the right word? I might say weary, but I hope you kind of followed along with my analogy at the end and things. One more stroke for me. You continue cooling down. Yeah, let me know if you enjoyed it. I always like to hear from you. Make sure, and if it's YouTube, then click subscribe. Do the little bell icon so you get notified when I stick up a new video. If you're listening to this in the podcast, then please subscribe to the podcast so you get notified of each time I put one up. Right now, I've gone back in time and I'm steadily uploading the 2K plan as a podcast version. So you're not going to hear from the 500 meter plan on the podcast for quite some time. But then have I just hit some kind of weird time wormhole thing where by the time you actually do hear this on the podcast, you'll be like, I'm listening to this on the podcast, what are you on about? Anyway, it's like Back to the Future. I've got to hit off on a timeline and suddenly Biff Tannen is president. Anyway, so that's my waffle. Thank you so much. Make sure and say hi. Stay safe, please. Be well, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.